Well, thank you for introducing me and having me here today. I will put, I know we have a limited amount of time and there's a lot to cover when it comes to getting a job. So I'm going to focus on the most important things. So I'll put the presentation in the chat if anybody wants to download it to reference it back later. But I'll go ahead and share my screen and share with you a little bit about how to land a job in data science. So my background, I come from working with people who want to pivot into a data science role, maybe going the bootcamp route, the mentorship route, or working with individuals who are maybe an engineer or an analyst wanting to level up in their career. And so there's been trends, and I'm going to share them with you today. And so because I'm a type A person, I have an agenda, just so you know where we're going with this today. We're going to talk about the 3 key steps to landing a role in data science. And then from there, we're going to talk about featured traits of a data scientist, because the way you talk about yourself is going to be important for you landing this job, because there are certain things that are important, like those soft skills, the ability to talk to people, those emotional skills that we just got done listening about. And then we're going to open the floor up to questions. If you have any questions, you can throw them in the chat. I can answer them afterwards, but I do encourage you to ask questions, because this is your opportunity to have multiple people here to maybe help you through whatever struggles that you're finding right now. So instead of spinning your wheels in this job search, ask the question. And that question may just be, hey, I don't know what I'm doing wrong. And then from there, we can kind of give you some suggestions on other opportunities. So diving right in to the 3 key steps. Step number 1, you have to learn data science skills. Now, this should be a no-brainer. I'm not going to spend much time on it. But things like math and calculus and statistics and programming language and data visualization tools, and like we just talked about, those soft skills. So often, brilliant people with high IQs, you got all the complicated stuff, struggle with the art of storytelling, the ability to be able to come to a layman like me and say, okay, this is the problem that you have. This is the algorithm I ran. This is the model I created, to put some structure to this unstructured question. And part of that is not only storytelling, it's also business acumen, being able to figure out what are the KPIs, what is the vision of this company, and how can you help them get to the next level for their business goals. And so all of these things are important. And then the next thing to really being able to land a job is getting this hands-on experience. So often people say, oh, you have to get the PhD, but that's not true. I've worked with many clients who have not had a PhD in any of these areas, but had the experience and had the capabilities of doing it, and then worked on projects. And so the bootcamp, the mentorship, the internships, all of the links for these services are in the chat right now. But you can also expand and do additional things like hackathons, open source projects, like we were chatting with earlier in the comments, finding a mentor, finding someone that you can collaborate on projects with, so you can, step number 3, build your portfolio out. But you can also do home labs as well. Sometimes you don't have to collaborate with someone. Maybe you create something on your own. And the only way that this hands-on experience and these, going back to these skills, matter is if you show it. So you actually have to showcase your skills, which can be uncomfortable for a lot of people who are drawn to this industry. So one way to showcase your skills is a portfolio. The majority of you probably have one. If not, you might be working on one. But my main tip here, and I am by no means a portfolio expert when it comes to data scientists, that's, you put all of your code in and you allow other people to see it. But where I can come in and help you is that you want to make sure that your file is clearly labeled. You want to be able to describe what your project is, what it does, how to run the code, why does it matter? And that's where recruiters and executive leadership outside of the data science team is really going to be able to connect the dots for your candidacy. So I've got a couple of examples here, a couple people's profiles that you can take a look at. And I will, at the end of this, drop it in the comments so you can download it, so you can look at these profiles yourself. But the main thing is that that storytelling is there, you know, that the results, the business results are clearly labeled, and that's going to help you cross over from, you know, technical, you know, to getting that executive buy-in, which you ultimately need to run a successful data science program. Another way to showcase your skill set when you're on a job search is through your resume. And so often I see 2-column resumes, you know, those really pretty resumes where you've got your picture, you've got your skills, you know, labeled with how good you are at it. And there's like a column running down the left, a column running in the top, and then like all of your experience section crammed in on the right side of the page. Those are not applicable at all with applicant tracking software. And so basically what an ATS is it scans a resume from left to right, parses the information into the application, but also into the internal system. Think of it as like a CRM, right? It's just collecting data. But if it can't properly parse your data, your profile isn't going to be complete. And then when you're competing against all these other data scientists whose profiles are complete, they're going to be more likely to get hired. So I recommend that you leverage a resume that's more compatible with the technology used within HR today, but also with the human being. The majority of you said that you were from places who read from left to right. And so when your resume is formatted in, you know, different areas, and it makes me read here and then over here, and then there's something here, I don't have enough time as a recruiter to find your stuff. I want to be able to quickly skim through. And a way to do that, if you have extensive experience, you know, try to keep your resume to 2 pages. You know, maybe if you're transferring over from another industry that's not as relevant, you might be able to have a 1-page resume, but I don't see it very often with data scientists. And sometimes I even see a 3-page resume. You know, there's no hard and fast rules on how long your resume needs to be, more so that the content is relevant to the job you're applying to. So let's say in a previous role, maybe you were doing something else. Any of the bullets that aren't necessarily relevant to what you're doing to next, you can kind of cut those out. So that way it doesn't take up as much space, and it doesn't confuse the reader as to what your goal really is. So I recommend having your header, you know, with your contact information, ditch objective statements, but an opening statement I do like. You know, how do you want someone to talk about you when you're not in the room? That's an opening statement. You know, 1 to 2 sentences really can help you shine in the interview process, because instead of the recruiter guessing how they should be talking about you, you've then told them, here's how to concisely summarize this person. And then if you're in a program like this, you can add your relevant coursework. You know, if you're in a boot camp, what are some of the new skills that you've been learning or mastering? All of that can definitely be helpful to show that you've been upskilling and you're ready for this next step in your career. And then again, don't rate your skills. If you have a template like that, ditch it. Connect with me. I put my LinkedIn URL in the comments. I'll send you a resume template that is ATS friendly, that is recruiter friendly, that is hiring manager friendly. And you can use that to, you know, then copy and paste your information into. But that's subjective. And for those of you in data, you probably know things that are subjective, it leaves a bad taste in your mouth. Well, who's to say that you're an expert in this, or that you're mediocre in this, or that you're entry level in this? It's just hard to really gauge that. So instead of any biases going into the situation, don't rate them, just say them. But you can't classify them, machine learning skills, and then add the nuances there, statistics, coding, programming language, all of those different areas that you can kind of loop together. You can do that to organize it for the recruiter, to make it a little easier for them to see, oh, check, 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 that you check all the boxes that the hiring manager is requiring of you. Now, if you're new to data science, you may not have many projects, but ideally you'll eventually have more novel projects to add, and you can include the links right on your resume to your portfolio, like we just talked about. So that way they can see, okay, here's the project, and here's a link to additional information on the project. So often people will have a page long about their project, and then all of a sudden they have a 12-page resume. That is not how recruiters work. We skim through the resume, box check, do they have this, and then put you in the yes or no pile. So if you make me do more work as a recruiter, you're probably gonna get pushed to the side because someone else made it easier for me to tell them yes. And of course, on the resume, your professional experience and your education. If it's recent education, I keep it at the top. If it's, dated education, I put it at the bottom. And so that's how you can leverage your resume. Now, another way to showcase your skills, which might be a little bit more outside of your comfort zone, is leveraging LinkedIn. For everybody, we just put our LinkedIn URLs in there. Connect with each other. Send that personalized connection request. And moving forward, have an optimized profile. So when you're looking at your profile, you're proficient. And so if you don't have a customized URL, like if you have all those numbers next to your name, it kind of makes somebody wonder, as potentially an entry-level data scientist compared to a seasoned data scientist, how technical is this person really, if they don't even take the time to customize their URL? Because in an interview, oftentimes people will pull up your profile versus looking at your resume. Another thing is, when you are competing against such top talent, you want to do everything in your power to increase the odds that you'll be selected compared to someone else. Something like creating a custom banner photo for some reason makes your profile more attractive. Maybe that's because subconsciously your profile stands out compared to somebody else's profile, but it works. So create a custom banner photo by going to canva.com. It's a free graphic design website. They have hundreds of templates that you can choose from. Have your name, the title, maybe a couple of skills on there. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. And then all of a sudden, there's an image, and pictures speak 1,000 words that will be ingrained into someone's mind and funneled differently than someone just skimming your resume, or your LinkedIn profile. And then your featured section. Most of you probably aren't leveraging your featured section, but every single time you're working on a project or learning a new skill, record your screen share. Go on Zoom and do a screen share where it can show what project you're working on. Maybe you're just doing something cool in Excel. Post it. Use the hashtag of the relevant skills that you're using so other people can easily find it. And so that way, when it comes down to the interview, do you have experience doing this? Yes, it's in my portfolio. And I also did a tutorial, which you can view here. So you're showing proof, you're showcasing your skills in a variety of different ways, because people hire people they know, like, and trust. So if they can believe you have this skill set, even if you might not necessarily have 3 to 5 years of the desired experience that they're looking for, they feel confident in your ability, because right there on your public LinkedIn profile, there's your work. And there are comments saying, great job, or, keep trying, or, seeing that you have that learning ability. And then LinkedIn's algorithm is based on 3 factors. Connections. So everybody connect with each other. Your profile is ranked higher if you have 500 plus connections. Engagement. That's actually if you use it. Like, are you endorsing other people for their skills? Are you commenting on other people's posts? Are you posting yourself? And then keywords. In my opinion, keywords is the most important because that's how recruiters search for you. So where do you want to put these keywords? In your headline, instead of just having whatever your current job title is now, which will be your default headline, customize it. Aspiring data scientist. And then, maybe you have a couple of different skills, machine learning, deep learning, all of these other things. Maybe you use a tagline, turning data into stories or something like that. I'm sure you can come up with something, or if you're not as creative, you can just use the keyword itself versus trying to stress over a tagline. And in your about section, so often people don't elaborate in their about section, but again, people hire people they know, like, and trust. If you share a little personal information about yourself in the about section, hey, this, my background was in this. This is why I'm passionate about this. This is why I find it important. Here's what I've recently done. Feel free to connect with me here. Here's my email address if you want to reach out. That is going to go over so much better than it just being, seasoned data, whatever, in this industry, or nothing at all. So I highly recommend you leverage that about section. Of course, your experience section, you want that filled out, as well as your education. So often people don't use their continuing education. They don't list those courses. If you've upskilled through a boot camp, put that in your education. You can even put that in your experience so you can have that title, data scientist in training, whatever you want to call it. And those courses, maybe you did something on Coursera or something like that. Go ahead and leverage it. And then you have a skills section. You can add up to 50 skills. The little words down at the bottom are the top skills used within data science job descriptions from LinkedIn. So I recommend, if you possess these skills, you absolutely have them in your skills section. Endorse other people for these skills and get endorsements yourself, because that's social proof. And social proof is so important, that somebody else had that vote of confidence that you do indeed understand machine learning and deep learning. Me, have no idea. I mean, I have some idea what they are because I've got so many friends in the industry, but like in general, somebody showing you that they believed in you enough to have that, to endorse you for that skill, speaks volumes. And you can always start off with friends and family, just to boost your algorithm ranking. It doesn't matter if you have 1 or 99, it lists you the same. But if you have 0 endorsements for your skills, you take a ding on the algorithm. So definitely at least get 1 endorsement. You can send me a message. Hey, Teegan, took you up on your advice in adding the skills section. Would you mind endorsing me for my skills? I'll endorse you for some. Now, it doesn't have to be a quick pro quo thing. You can just go and endorse other people for their skills without asking for it in return. But people who really care about you are more likely to do it. And really important are getting recommendations. People want to work with people, again, that they know, like, and trust. If former coworkers aren't willing to write you a public recommendation, it kind of raises a red flag. Either you don't leverage LinkedIn very often, or nobody likes you enough to write you a brief recommendation. A trick with this is to write a recommendation based on things people have said about you in the past, and then send them a recommendation request. You go to recommendations, say, send Teegan a recommendation request. Hey, Teegan, it was such a pleasure working on this project with you at this company. I was wondering if you'd be willing to write me a really brief recommendation. In the past, you've said, and then in parentheses, whatever the quote is, feel free to copy and paste that, or, create one yourself. And if there's anything I can do for you, please let me know. And so that way you've got some recommendations on there, even if it was from a previous industry. And then moving along, because this is showcasing your skills, it's the featured traits of a data scientist. So someone else could probably explain this a little bit better than me, but I'm a gatekeeper. You can't get to the hiring manager until you get past the recruiter. So in my mind, a data scientist day to day, they're doing stuff with data, right? You're cleaning it, you're studying it, you go to a lot of meetings, you send a lot of emails, and you create and maintain like these models, right? And so what are the skills that make it so that you can do those three things really well? Well, one, you have the ability to see bigger picture. That's that business acumen. So I really want to make sure that you can not only be a data nerd, you can also articulate how that impacts the business. And you're innovative. You're finding creative solutions to questions or problems that people might not even have identified yet. You're just that smart. You have the ability to communicate with other disciplines. You know, you need to be able to talk to me just as effectively as you can talk to your boss. You need to be able to, you know, in terms of machine learning, develop algorithms. Not really sure how that's done, but you should know how it's done. And then one big difference that I see, especially working with recruiters in the industry, is that the difference between somebody that they would consider for a data scientist versus a data analyst would be the level of mastery when it comes to your coding and languages abilities. And so I'm sure someone who's been in the industry, who's actually in the industry, could elaborate a little bit further. But from a recruiter perspective, this is kind of where our brains are at. And so keep that in mind when you're writing your resume, when you're posting on LinkedIn, when you're adding that description to your portfolio. And I know we're coming close up to time, but I do want to give you a couple bonus resources. There are Data Science Top Voice. In part of my bio, I am a top job search expert to follow on LinkedIn. The same goes for data scientists. Follow them, learn from them, leverage their resources. So Steve, for example, is a top voice in data science and AI, where Alex Wang, for example, she's like a cheat sheet junkie. And so one of her resources that you'll find is, let me stop sharing and then reshare another screen, is an interview resource. Now, I can help prep you on behavioral-based interviewing, but when it comes to the technical stuff, not so much. And so here's a resource that Steve actually put together that Alex posted live. It is 169 pages of questions and answers that are related to data science interview questions and cheat sheets and things of that nature for how to prepare you for the technical portion. And so highly recommend you download this. So all you do is when you get to her post, it's quite a bit back, and I can drop it. Let's see, copy link. What you do is you click here at the bottom, make it full screen. And then once it's full screen, at the top, it has a download. So you can actually download this resource yourself and use it as one of the many tools in your toolbox to study for the interview. And so I'm going to drop this in the comments right now, see if we have any other questions. So, okay. You want the link. So this is the first question I have. The access to the presentation. Yes, I can send you access to the presentation. Let me exit out of it and put it in the chat so you can download it. Desktop. Now this is probably where having a clean desktop would come in a little bit more handy. What did I call this presentation? What did I call this presentation? Oh, 3 key steps. So it should be either one of the first, because it's a number, or one of the last. Here we go. It was the first one. Okay, so open. All right, so there you go. In the comments is now the interview resource as well as the presentation. So you can go back, look at those couple of sample portfolios. Can you send me an example of a LinkedIn URL? Absolutely. So a lot of people were posting their LinkedIn URLs in the chat. So definitely scroll up and connect with other people within the group. And so I can show you how to customize it. Screen share. Share. Okay, so when you go onto LinkedIn, you go to your home screen, and then when you go on your own profile, over to the right, edit public profile and LinkedIn URL. So your LinkedIn URL is your website name, www.linkedin.com/Teegan Bartos / if I didn't have it customized, it'd have a bunch of numbers under behind it. So you just go to the right side of your screen, to edit it, and right here on the right side you just click this blue pencil and then you edit it. If you have a common name, you might have to put something in between your name, or maybe at the end like data junkie or data nerd or data scientist, something that changes it if your name is too common. So that is the LinkedIn URL question. Let me scroll back up because I see some more. Okay. Somebody said, lots of insights and perspective. It's easy to forget when you're not a recruiter. Yeah, we are not as smart as you. I will be the first to admit, like, your guys' brain has nothing it's nothing compared to mine. And so you got to remember that. You got to remember who your audience is. So that way you can land with them. I don't know if any of you have children, but if you speak to a child in a certain way, you're more likely to get the results that you're looking for. The same thing goes when you speak to anyone else. Know your audience. And that will help you get past those initial interview rounds that, are more behavioral based questions, like, tell me about yourself, walk me through your resume, tell me about a time when, some of those more interpersonal questions versus the technical questions. So what is the difference between a resume and CV? Do you have a cover letter sample? So yes, so a resume, so a CV is curriculum vitae, I don't know, it's Italian. And that's basically more a European or an academic style of resume. So in academia, they use a CV. It says everything from start to finish, especially international CVs, it'll say where you went to grade school, all through every step, every job, every project, where a resume is a professional marketing tool. And so it doesn't have to say everything on it. It is the key selling points for you to land this job. So two very different documents. If you're looking for a role in academia, you'll need a CV. If you're looking for a role in corporate, you typically go the resume route. In America, if you're from a different country and want to know what is leveraged there, you can try to find a resource in your home country to try to find the answer for which is the best route for you to go. How about, and then the cover letter. So yeah, I've got some examples of cover letters. Send me a DM, I can send you it. Basically, cover letter, what you know about the company. The second, why you want the first paragraph, what you know about the company. And then second paragraph, what makes you qualified for this job. Third paragraph is a call to action. And so I can quickly pull one up for you, but anybody who wants one, you can just DM me.
I can add something that I recommend people to do in cover letters.
Yes.
If you find something very matching with your background, the job, and you go over these qualifications they require. So I recommend people to get each qualification one by one and says, and how many years expertise. They ask, for example, if you did AI in medicine, you say how many years did and what you did. So if you listed the similar qualifications in cover letter, I think it will stand you out for the recruiter.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I don't have a true data science example that doesn't have the information blacked out, but I can share an automation one. So I've spent 20 years at Allstate serving as a catalyst for innovation and digital transformation. I lean into uncertainty, have a demonstrated success in leading teams through, I always butcher this word, ambiguity, and thrive in dynamic situations. I've led and operationalized global automation initiatives, allowing the organization to capture cost savings, operational efficiencies, and unrealized economic value. Now, this was not stated in the resume. This was all based from what they were looking for in the job description and what this person had found out from their informational interview. And so, key accomplishments as a leader, bullet pointed it to make it really easy for the eye to be drawn to here's my value add. Increased ROI 663%, an annual capacity return of 925% over a 3-year period, and achieved $95 million in cost avoidance projected over the next 5 years. Significantly exceeded organizational benchmarks for employee feedback on leadership and culture inspire surveys, ranking highest in overall engagement, supports work-life balance, and leverages diverse perspectives. So 2 key accomplishments as a leader. 1, here's what I was able to do when I built out this AI program here. And 2, here's what my people say about me, because soft skills are equally as important as your technical skills. Let's see, any other questions? The next one is, how about tips for someone not a software engineer looking to change careers? So the tips are those 3 things: learn the skills, get the hands-on experience, and then showcase it. Are you wearing glasses? Oh, you are wearing glasses. You must be intelligent or blind, but I'll take intelligent. I'm really smart when it comes to some things. I'm really good at getting people jobs, but when it comes to what you guys do, no, not at all. But Jeffrey, I appreciate the compliment. Not seeing the presentation in the chat, or has it not been dropped yet? Scroll back up. It'll be a PDF saying 3 steps to landing . See if it's there. If not, message me on LinkedIn and I can send it to you there if for whatever reason you're not seeing it. I'm wondering whether the recording of this meeting will be available. I believe he said it'll be on YouTube. Is that correct?
Yes, it will be it.
Okay, so yeah, you'll be able to go back and watch it on YouTube. I know I talk fast, but I didn't want to disrespect anybody's time by going too over, and I can do that. I can talk. Not all future opportunities will understand data science or its benefits. In these cases, can you avoid recruiters and go directly to industry players? Yes, absolutely, hands down. If you apply to a job, there's a 2% chance that you'll get it. If you have an internal referral, it jumps up to 22% chance of getting it. So what I recommend to all of my clients is create a target company list. What are the companies you're really excited about, would love to work for? Follow them. Reach out to their employees, in the related areas that you would be collaborating with or directly working with, and say, hey, I saw, you recently, landed this data scientist role. Congratulations. Would you mind sharing what was the interview process like? And then maybe for the next person, you say, hey, I've seen, you've been, you've worked your way up. Congratulations. That's, incredible. I'm looking to pivot myself. Do you have any recommendations for somebody, whatever your case may be? And so let's say you reach out to 10 people at your target company, each with a different question. Then you're going to compile so much data from all these different sources. And then by the time you get to the recruiter, you already have all the answers. And every single time you have an informational interview or virtual coffee or meetup like this, ask people, who else do you think I should be talking to? And then that cold connection that you just randomly reached out to because it's your target company, then they introduce you to somebody, and chances are they're going to introduce you to somebody that's on the right team, or the hiring manager themselves. And then the hiring manager will go to the recruiter and say, hey, schedule an interview with this person. And then you go in through the back door. A lot of people call this the hidden job market, and it's an excellent job search strategy. So I'm glad that you pointed that out. Next question. Would you be able to show once again how to download the document from Alexis Wang's LinkedIn? Okay, so when you scroll down, when it's about at the comments, that like a black box pops up for you to bring it to full screen. Click on it so you can see it, her presentation in full screen. And at the top right-hand corner, hover your mouse over it, and then options to escape full screen or download the resource will be there. And then you can do so by that. If for whatever reason you have some type of firewall or something where it's not allowing you to do it, you probably know how to change that firewall. But you can also click on the 3 dots on her post, save that post so you can go back and look at it when you're ready to start studying it if it's not letting you download it. How will I know when I'm ready to start applying? Well, if you're in this group, my guess is you're ready. When you have your marketing material together, because you never get a second chance at a first impression. And so when you have that portfolio, when you have that, that LinkedIn profile nicely polished, start applying, because if you don't, you're only going to get no's because you're not even giving yourself a chance. So that would be my tip. You don't have to be perfect. I mean, the learning curve, it's, you try, you fail, you learn, you try again, you learn, and you succeed. And so there's that competence loop. So eventually you just got to throw yourself out there. All right. So the next question is, how do you look for the company you really want to work with without any experience in changing careers? Okay, so that's a great question. So lots of times you just get a feel, like you hear about a company, let's say maybe a top company to work for list, or you look on Crunchbase and you see startups that are, just got new seed funding. So, they got money to spend so they can pay you well. You can look at lists like that to determine, do I want to work here? Do I not? And I'm actually going to give you guys another additional resource for you. This is my resource vault. This is probably, you guys can make it a little bit prettier. But if you are type A, you will very much so enjoy this, because there is a job search tracker on here where you can put in information about a company. So you can go back and study it. So let's say Nike gave people a month off for mental health reasons, and you're thinking, okay, I want to work for Nike. But then you find out that they're going through an organizational restructuring, and that month off was actually because of whatever, hypothetical reason. I'm just throwing out something silly right now. And then you say, oh no, I don't want to work for them. Then you just delete them off your list. So you just, if something attracted you to the company, you either get more information about that company from reaching out to these people, and it makes you even more interested, or you find out enough information, you'd be like, no, not my cup of tea, and move on from there. Okay, so hopefully, Amy, that helps. If not, DM me, I can give you some other recommendations. Okay, can you download this information in the chat? I think so. I think you should just be able to click on the link and access it that way. Please feel free to connect with me. Me too, me too, me too. That's awesome. Yes, everybody connect, everybody network. When someone accepts your connection request, throw some endorsements on their skills, boost each other up. That's the great thing about how collaborative this community is. You guys have each other's backs. And so do so when you're on the job search too, not just when you're being mentored. I can't find the presentation file to download the link. Let me add it in again so it's fresh down at the bottom. Okay. It says sent successfully. So can you see that? How to search for new jobs. Oh, that's a loaded question. I don't think we have enough time for that today, but feel free to go on my YouTube channel or my LinkedIn profile. I have tons of tips on that. Can you explain when having a gap or career change, mechanical engineering, if you explained before? Okay, so if you have a gap, you have a gap. We're human beings. I'm a mother. Like at some point I had to give birth to a baby. Yeah, I'm going to have a gap. You know, people have to move, take care of elderly people. If people after COVID don't understand why people had a gap during 9/11, why people had a gap during the 2007, recession, or why people have a gap now or any other time in between, they're just ignorant. And so maybe that's a company that you don't want to work for anyways. But I would just say whatever it was. I went back to school. I relocated, and whatever it may be for your case, sometimes too personal things you don't want to share. And sometimes you feel comfortable sharing. You have to figure out your story, your career story. And I say parentheses, not because I'm talking about a fib, literally. When you're speaking to people, what's the situation? What action did you take? And what was the result? Maybe you went on a sabbatical. Maybe you traveled for a year. That's so cool. Gaps are fine. How much does your course cost? I think they dropped a link in it that had a $400 discount code with like early bird code in it. So scroll back up in the chat so you can find that. What recommendations do you have for data science questions to the employer? What questions should we ask? Great question. Questions are actually really important and show that you're being sincere about this process. And so recruiter questions to ask can be, what are the next steps in the process? Where do you see this company going? But my favorite is, based on your conversation with the hiring manager, what is the priority for the candidate who will be filling this role? And maybe they'll give you all the answers to the test and say, yeah, Teegan is looking for X, Y, and Z. So by the time you get to that hiring manager conversation, you can say, oh, well, when I spoke to, the recruiter, they said that you were, that these were the priorities. And, is that accurate? Could you share a little bit more about this role? And then it turns the interview from an interrogation to a conversation. And those are the best interviews. Could you remind us the name of where to make the banner? Yes. Canva.com. You just have to use your email. I've used it for years. You don't have to pay for the premium one. You can use the free one and make a really nice banner photo. For those of you who are using like a Google image, just make sure you're not violating any copyright infringements. This is my LinkedIn. Feel free to connect. Yes, absolutely. You could connect with up to 100 people a week on LinkedIn. I'm at that connection request because I am a part of a job search collective group and connect with new members as they join. And so for anybody who wants to connect with me, send me a follow-up question. There's my LinkedIn URL. And I see another tab here that has 6 questions. Okay. So it seems people don't have time to read resumes. Will they have time to read a README on GitHub? That's a great question. Recruiters don't read resumes. We skim them. And so we will visually look at your portfolio. But so this is the process. People apply to the job. We go through all of the applications. We either immediately skim the resume, which eye tracking studies have found that it's about a 7-second scan. We want to quickly find, does this person check off all the boxes? Do they have these skills? Very minimal review. Sort the people in the yes, sort the people in the no. And then we go back and have a deeper look at that yes pile. And that's where, we'll dig deeper into the projects that you've worked on, the industries that you've been involved on, any of those quirky things that the hiring manager is really interested in, has, preferred preferences to. And then we narrow that down enough to have initial screening calls. And then from there, presents present the people that we screen to the hiring team for them. And we have a whole entire like document we send. So it'll say, here's the person's background, their LinkedIn, their portfolio. So then that hiring manager then can easily click and see just like high level overview of your information. And as a recruiter, I do look at it, and I know my hiring managers look at it. So that's the answer to that. And then next question. Oops, done. Paul F says, is there any preoccupation for HR to skim out older applications to close a retirement age switching? Enter the. I'm not sure what this. Oh, so, okay. So, the question is there a way to like take out people based on close to retirement age or, levels? So there are some people, some organizations who set up knockout questions. This will be, do you have a master's degree or 5 years of experience? And if it's a no, then maybe that automatically knocks you out in the running. You'll receive an automatic email saying that, based on your questionnaire, you did not meet the bare minimum requirements. However, when it comes to us in HR, looking at the initial resume, there are age discrimination biases, whether that be unconscious or not, but it's illegal. And that's actually why ATSs were created, to try to eliminate some of these biases. So Paul, if you're concerned about that, one of the things that you could do is have an earlier experience section where your experience from like the 90s or the 80s are listed there, maybe without even the dates on there. You can take the education off of, or you can take the dates off of your education and do things like that to minimize someone guessing your age. 2, is grad school required mostly? How does the statistics go nowadays? Not a question for me. Maybe somebody else can come back and answer that later. I know I've worked with clients who haven't gone to grad school, but are like really deep in other areas like within work and continuing education and things like that. I mean, just to get this much knowledge, there's continuing education requirements. Boot camps like this is one of them.
I mean, I can add to that. It's not required. We get a lot of students, they didn't have grad schools, they find great jobs, but grad school is always plus. But it's not required. And a lot of students with bachelor's in biology, physics, and engineers, they become data scientists. So.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. So Paul's question number 3, how to avoid violating copyright and patent when putting public stuff public on GitHub. So like when I say you don't have to purchase Canva, if you purchase it, you do have access to a bunch of different stock images and things like that. If it's a confidential project for a client and they make you sign, confidential waivers and things like that, then you obviously can't post them. So definitely make sure you get that clarification. And there's a lot of YouTube videos on this. And then when you get a mentor, they can obviously help work through some of these things on what you can and cannot do when it comes to this technical stuff, Paul. So an anonymous attendee asks, create 2 different resumes and cover letters, ? Apply to all types of positions, ? Or is it better to, okay, gotcha. Anytime you cast a wide net, you get less fish. The clearer and more concise you can be about what type of role you're going after, the better. Now, you can have a variety of industries you're going after, maybe medicine, maybe, something else. And that's fine. But when it comes to maybe some days you're applying to a data science role and other days you're applying to, a data analyst role because you're frustrated that you haven't been able to land the data scientist role, just swap out the job title on your resume. It's I've done a lot of trainings on YouTube on resume writing. You can do it. If you're in this program, you'll have one-on-one time with me to completely customize your resume and LinkedIn profile. So my suggestion is the clearer, the better. Another anonymous attendee said, in the last interview with a director of company told me that congratulations, you are accepted on the HR team contact you, but they did not. Followed up with them 3 times. We are on hold. I have to get back to the director and ask for his assistance. Yeah, I would definitely recommend reaching out to the director and say, you know, hey, director, I am so excited about this opportunity. I spoke with the recruiter and they said that the position is on hold. Do you have an, do you have an anticipated, time frame when this position will be unfrozen? And then maybe they'll respond or maybe they won't, in which that case, maybe there's some deeper stuff going into the organization and you might have dodged a bullet. But yeah, closed mouths don't get fed, don't over communicate, but it's okay to weekly follow up with a recruiter. After 4 weeks, I would say stop. And it's okay, you know, after you've gone through the proper chains of commands, reaching out to the recruiter. And if they don't get back to you, then reach out to the, you know, someone else if you have their information. Okay, so the next question is it common to do psychometric tests? Some companies do those personality tests. It's really unfortunate because it's such a turnoff to some of the best talent out there. Companies are trying to have better candidate experiences, but some companies just care about that. And so it's just as common as it is that you won't see it, that you will see it. So yeah. Okay. So do employers prefer degrees or certifications or boot camps? That's a great question. Some people might have some biases, but in general, if you can do the work, that's all they care about. And so if your certification proves that you can do the work, if you got hands-on experience in that boot camp, sometimes when you get the degree, you don't always get the hands-on experience. And so sometimes people who get the degrees end up having to go to the boot camp to finally get the experience. And so, it's not really, do they prefer one or the other? It's more so, can you sell yourself? Because when you're on the job search, you're the product. Okay. I know we're coming up close to time, if not already. Over the time. Sorry, I told you guys I talked a lot. I warned you. Okay, I think I've got everything. So the links to the program are in the chat. There's a coupon code if you're interested in joining the bootcamp or one of the mentorship programs, and just drop the website, Clubhouse, all the other socials, the group meets. And then last question, after this bootcamp, how can I sell myself in my current company? That's a great question. So if you're looking for an internal promotion, then I would recommend reaching out to people in your organization that are in these roles. Hey, I'm going through this program. These are the skills. Ask your during your one-on-one, set it up, bring a SWOT analysis and say, here's where I want to have a professional development conversation. I created a SWOT analysis of myself. Here are my strengths. Here are my opportunities. That's internal. And external, what are your opportunities and what strengths, weaknesses, and then externally, opportunities and threats. And ask your hiring manager, can you help me, add to this? I would love to get your, unbiased perspective of where I'm at developmentally and what my internal opportunities are. Is there an opportunity for sponsorship to get into a role or to go on a stretch assignment? So yes, absolutely leverage your management. Let those teams know that you are going through this program, that you are into it. Throw your hat in, raise your hand and say, if there's any type of project or stretch assignment or whatever your company calls it, like pick me, pick me, pick me. So they know that that is what you're interested in. So I think we are at time. So if anybody else has anything else, speak now or we'll catch you later.
Thank you, Teegan. That was a great presentation. Appreciate your time and insights. And then thanks for everyone. It was a good participants. So they stay till end. I believe that is going to help everyone significantly. Appreciate it. Thanks.
All right, everybody, have a wonderful day.